Yeah, friends of the Risen King. My name is Enoch. Another get to know episode. I have Jason Murphy with me, but today we're gonna do a little different. We're gonna get to know the Martyrs walk first, and then we'll get Jason. Jason, thanks for joining me, bud.
Hi, brother. Thanks for having me so much. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate you. So I just want to go straight to it, man. You created this thing, this concept called the Martyrs Walk, and I'm gonna share with our viewers in a few minutes this promo video that you guys came up with Rick Barrett, and a good friend of ours. Rick's a great guy, and Daniel's also. I know Daniel personally as well. Um, yeah, just if you had 30 seconds or 1 minute of trying to get somebody to understand what this project is about, what would you say?
So the Martyrs Walk is a exercise of virtual martyrdom. It is intended to take a man to his breaking point, to bring him there, so that he will have that memory, that muscle memory reflex built in when it comes to whether the daily martyrdoms, the white martyrdoms, or the blood martyrdoms that could potentially come his way. Because if you don't ever go there, near there, there's no way you can get beyond. And so we want to bring him as close as we can to that point through the lessons and exercises of the Martyrs Walk, which in a nutshell would be I don't want to say just a boot camp, it's a little more, maybe perhaps a special forces boot camp smashed together with the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius.
That's a very beautiful way to put it, bud. Thanks for that. So what got you to start this thing? Did you see the lack of masculinity among the culture and decided that we need this?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've been involved with men's ministries, got involved with the Knights of Columbus years ago, and, saw kind of the good in it. I think over the years, it's been watered down. People have lost touch with its formation of prayer and brotherhood and fellowship. And, but through the Knights of Columbus, I wanted to reinvigorate it and back to the early 2000s. I think I joined the Knights in maybe 2004 or so. And so I kind of set off on a mission to bring in some younger guys. I was around 30 when I joined, and probably the youngest by about 30 years. And so we brought in new guys, and we started basing it more around fellowship and brotherhood. And through that, in 2010, we established the Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas. And that was a big push. But it's still just enough. It was, guys, myself included, it becomes just a checklist, oh yeah, I got that done. I can go back to my daily life, or I can get up in the morning, say my quick little prayers. Then I can go off through the rest of the 23 hours of that day and just do whatever, as long as I do these little checkpoints. And I got out of the men's conference after the first handful of years. Just life got busy. We started having more kids. We have 6 now. Things are starting to settle down. So thank you. Yeah. 2019, I was asked to get back in with the men's conference, and honestly, why? What did I see? Yes, I saw a weakness in men because it starts with me, and I started recognizing the weakness and the complacency in myself. I was, just becoming to get comfortable, and I was getting my checklist done. Going through my little prayers and not being a bad guy, not missing mass, but just being kind of plateauing, so I got back in. There was still that nag there. I just, for years, I felt God calling me to lead men, and I didn't know, and I thought maybe each little point along the way was it, and maybe the Martyrs Walk won't be it. Maybe there's something more beyond that. But right now, I feel like He's led me, to. And people ask, I've been asked about the men's conference. So why did you do it? And I said, well, I needed it. And so with the Martyrs Walk, I feel like I need it. And the men need it. The men around us need it. The church softened, society has softened, and the men have softened. The enemy has completely attacked man, and our families and our churches are paying the ultimate price right now.
No, that's an excellent point. Yeah. So you have a familiarity of understanding what men need because of your experience that you've had in the past, and I can share that with you because I know I did youth ministry for 10 years, and my favorite part about youth ministry was the boys retreats because it
Okay.
was
Yeah.
it was rough and it was tough, and we put them through a lot of physical activities, and men respond very well to that, and so I could see the fruits of the martyr's walk without even seeing it because I know the fruits that the 16 to 17-year-olds had at the retreat when we play barbarian ball or wake them up at 5 in the morning and go on a run.
That's
So
right.
I got excited when I saw when Rick was telling me about it because I've experienced that. Um, if having someone go to the martyr's walk, like a man probably from the ages of 18 to 60, right? Somewhere around there,
That's right.
I believe is the age. Yeah. Is that initial jolt of just pushing the man to his limits, according to his limits? Would you say when he leaves that retreat on the weekend, when he goes back home, that could be applied to anything in life as far as like husband, fatherhood, and work related, faith related? Is that something that really gets a man going?
Oh yeah, yeah, and its intention, but it
Mm,
is not a cure all. It's not a magic pill.
sure.
It's gonna fade. It's gonna go away.
Mm,
Um, life is going to come back in. The enemy is going to creep right back around, especially after you have looked inside yourself and looked for what's holding you back. Where are you not all that you need to give to God, obviously first and foremost, and to your family, to your society, to your church. And so once that is peeled open, a man is going to go back and he's going to be reinvigorated. He's going to feel like he's been empowered, obviously. And but our intention is not for it to end there. We have a fellowship, a brotherhood that is meant to be more sort of a sustaining. It's a fraternity, it's a brotherhood. Once you come through the martyr's walk and you complete that task, you join a very unique group of men who have
yeah.
have been to the limits, and through that, it's not just one of these things where, yeah, well, I'll get your number and I'll shoot you a text and we'll stay in touch. We have, John Hughes, he's with Queen of Martyrs Templars, and
Uh,
Rick's a part of that, and Tico Valerio, and all the men of the Martyrs Walk. And we follow this rule. It's a rule that was established, and it's a very strict rule. It may or may, it's a lot. It is a lot, but if you're not seeking more, you're never going to reach more. If you're not holding if you don't have a standard to shoot for, you will never get to that standard. So,
exactly.
um, it's all encompassing: physicality, diet, prayer life,
Yeah.
fraternity, apostolate. Going out and speaking out against public prayer, peaceful protesting. There's a lot of components there, and that is sort of the vehicle that I think will keep everyone together. We want to have alumni events to bring guys back. We want the men, of course, once they graduate the Martyrs Walk, to come back and help assist with the additional walks that'll take place. So
Sure.
it is an integral part of their life for sure.
Right. Right. That's a beautiful way of putting it. And what inspired you to come up with the name, the Martyrs Walk? What about that
Okay,
name fits what you're doing?
man. So I like adventure challenges. I'm not gonna lie. Kind of a crazy guy when it comes to that kind of stuff.
It's all
So
right.
So a few years ago, I saw these intense boot camps that men would go to, um, and they would be pushed to their challenge. They would be taken and tr- tried very physically, and I kind of saw it and I thought, well, that's a cool thing. Maybe I'll do that one day. And then maybe last year I was transitioning out of, I hate to say that word these days. It's sort of, people be like, what would you say? So anyway, I transitioned out of my real estate and construction career after about 20
Right.
years. I just wasn't feeling like I was living purposefully. I felt like God had given me all those years of success. Uh, and now it was time for me to take that time, talent, and treasure and use it for something more purposeful. So I was in the process of just discerning, trying to figure out, like, what could I do, God? What is it? Is it just another secular job? Is it just something else? Who knows? And I was open, but I ran across again one of these kind of boot camps, and they're Christian based. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. So I looked online, and I really couldn't find anything similar that was Catholic produced. I know that there's some kind of rustic kind of style groups where men will get together, and of course there's retreats. And I've been on a number of Ignatian retreats, and they're very powerful and they're wonderful. But I couldn't find anything that brought the two, Catholicism and that boot camp style to one place, at least what I was thinking of. So I thought, well, if I'm going to, maybe look at this, let me go at least see what this is like. So I went down to Dallas and I went through a program, and it was actually well done. It was really well done. There was nothing anti-Catholic there. It was Christian based. But there were a lot of elements there that I thought, man, if they just had the truths of the Catholic faith, and if they had the liturgy, and if they had the sacraments, and if they had the saints. And so I was just open. I was down there. I knew that I was down there for a reason. It was part of where I was going and what was going to happen. And while I was there, we were going to one of our events, the final event that we were, that was going to take place. And it was grueling. It was very grueling. And one of the components was that we were blindfolded going to this location.
Wow.
And so in this van, several other guys, I think 8 other guys, out of nowhere, and I say it's a revelation, and I firmly do believe it was a revelation, because that boot camp I was on had nothing to do with what took place within me on that trip. But it hit me, and I thought, what if I was blindfolded, thrown into a van, and being taken to my death, where they were going to attempt to make me deny Christ. And it was intense, brother. I mean, I really entered into this like unlike any other time in my life. And when we got to the location, that was it. I was like, that is what I need to do. I need to take a man to that point. I've never been there mentally before. This came out of nowhere. This wasn't preached about. It wasn't talked about on there. It was out of the blue. And so when I got there to that event, I was a crazed man. And it was 40 degrees. Water that we were going to be getting in was 40 degrees. I was one of the younger guys with a little, least body mass index out there. And I'm not bragging, but I got out there and I took my jacket off before the 40 other guys that were out there. And I was like, let's go. I just let's go, because I will not stop. And the way I equated it, I said, if I stop and I don't complete the task that they're asking me to do, I'm denying Christ. And I know it's a little out there, but that is what drove me. And during that event, I knew God was speaking to me, and I said, that is what I'm going to do. And when I got back to the hotel room that night, I spoke to a friend of mine, and I just kind of, unloaded. And he's like, well, you got to do this. You got to get this bounced out by the men's conference, because our men's conference was coming up in a month. And I said, that's a month away. And he said, you're Jason Murphy. so I said, all right, go. So we went, and I started thinking there were many different, and I just kept circling back. I knew it was going to be martyrdom. I didn't know what, and I didn't know how. And finally, the Martyrs Walk, it landed there. Die to sin, die to self, live for God. And it came out, and this is God's bus, dude. I am total passenger on this.
Yeah, that's the beauty of these things. When God really moves through grace in a person, and next thing you know, you're doing all of these things, you're writing all of these things, preparing it, and you forget what you even put together. You know that the Spirit is really working through you to try to get this going. I get it. Yeah. So
I tell the guys all the time, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
That's the best part. That's the best part. Yeah, get out of the way, right? Get out of the way.
That's right.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, that's beautiful. And so you have a pretty good understanding of white martyrdom, and that's needed. And it's almost seems like a lot of what life is preparation for an event, preparation for something big. When we fast and we pray, it's preparation for the bigger temptations that are going to come on in life, so we can face them, strengthen the will, die to the flesh. And like what you said, and the beauty of it, I know one of the Desert Fathers quotes is, every single time we commit a sin, we burn incense to Caesar. We are denying Christ through that sin. And that's a beautiful way of putting it. Is the martyr's walk something that a guy can come out of and really say to himself, I have now prepared myself for the events that are going to come on in life, as far as temptations, that I can overcome these temptations, because not only do I have brotherhood that I can go to now, that you've bonded with, and when you guys get through all these grueling activities together, there's a bond there that's everlasting, and I get it. Right. So who would you recommend this to most? People who are like just really, really struggling with sin, or is this someone who has a little understanding and a grasp of the spiritual life, or is this for everyone?
Yeah, I think each of the guys that came to our beta version might have told you before, they're like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea, but I'm doing pretty good. And every single one of them would tell you afterwards, wow, I needed that. and that's been kind of the recurring theme. And it is something different there, man. Like, I mean, the iron sharpens iron. That is just, it's so real. It's so real, and men need that. And to struggle with another man, and suffer with another man for a greater good, there is nothing that, and that is something that this world just doesn't even know anymore. It doesn't. I mean, no one's united on anything, especially the men. The men are so disengaged. We're little islands floating out there by ourselves. We think we know best. I thought I knew best. I think I know best every day. Every day I commit sin, and every day I think I know best. Right. So I wouldn't say it's for a hardened sinner, and I wouldn't say it's for, not for, for just those, who really, I think anyone could benefit, because it's such a unique experience, and that no one has been to. I mean, we had two Marines, Daniel Vu and Joe Simmers, both, right. Both Marines, and both, were like, oh, I've been through boot camp. But there's something different when you bring in the spiritual element and you introduce, that whole component. It is a different world. It's a completely different world. And I think each and every one of those men, left better for it. And I'm completely humbled that every one of them, heard what I had to say about this idea, and came across the country to be a part of it. And now, are just so hungry to get it off the ground. And it's just a humbling experience to be around, such men and the faith. And, we're just I think there's an awakening going on. I think you're aware of that. There is the guys out there doing the grind. We are coming together. There is a resurgence of the Catholic man, and he's on his way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we have a question here I want to get to here. It says, are there any physical prerequisites that need or should be met prior to attending the walk? You talked about that earlier, but go ahead and talk about the limitations of each individual.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think, I've said before, it's not a race. It is not a competition. The only competition will be with yourself.
I love that.
We are going to take every man, and we're going to use, his abilities, his shortcomings, his physicality, and we're going to push him further than he's ever been pushed. And I firmly believe that. There might be a guy out there. There might be a crazy guy out there that'll be all like, yeah, that was weak. But I'm pretty sure that there's few and far between. And if there is, he can come join us and start leading this thing. But, right. There were, I wouldn't say, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just laughing.
I wouldn't say like you'd have to be a runner or be in great shape. I mean, you certainly don't, if you just had heart surgery or something like that, you definitely want to make sure you check with your doctor and he'll give you okay to do a boot camp. I wouldn't, it would not be limited to any man, average man, we've had a lot of messages from guys like saying, hey, I'm 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight. Is that limiting? No, absolutely. Because we're going to use that weight against you. And we're not, you don't have to be in shape. You're not here to lose weight. we want to push you physically. Ideally, we're pushing you spiritually. We're the physical side is a vehicle to get to the spiritual. Grace builds on nature,
Right.
and we are going to. The goal is to spiritually awaken you. We're not there to whip you into shape at all. But I think if you're living the spiritual life, then if you're overeating, you're going to start looking at the sins of gluttony maybe, and start re-examining that. So it's all encompassing, it's all related, and certainly I don't think we'd be turning anyone down based on health, unless they've had some sort of note from a doctor saying they shouldn't exercise at all. You certainly have to be able to light jog, lift some things, and nothing excruciating, and nothing Olympic bodybuilding or anything like that.
Sure. I want to continue on the theme of brotherhood. When I can make it to the gym, I've noticed that if I have somebody with me, there's that motivation to push the next extra 2 reps that I need. When if I was by myself, I might just put the bar down. But if somebody's with me, said you got 2 more in you and you can push that. Is that what happens throughout the weekend? Are the within the weekend, within the Martyrs Walk, are the brothers really pushing each other?
Oh yeah. We much of what we did, there's no way anybody's going to go out in their backyard or and put themselves through. But when you've got other brothers there and they're supporting you and encouraging you on, and I mean, I don't want to say there's a pride, but there's a certain sense of pride that that you don't want to give up. You want to complete the task. That is a huge. We saw mountains move during our walk back in May, and the things that were done that certainly would not have been done without their brothers there. And that goes beyond the walk, knowing that those guys are there. There's spiritual and physical things I'm doing on a daily basis now because I know they're doing them. And that just, they're not there physically perhaps, but just knowing that somebody's going through it. Just a quick side story on that note. Cesar Vasquez, he leads the Sons of Mary Rosary Apostolate on Instagram, and he's very devoted to the Rosary, and he's been doing this, I guess, going on a year. And it was very pivotal, very important in my walk because I saw him one morning, him and a friend of his, praying the Rosary like at 5:30 in the morning. And it was really inspiring because I was at the point where I was like, man, no, where are the men? Where are the guys out? I feel like I'm trying, but it's tough when you don't have those brothers around you. And I saw them, and it changed my life because I always told myself I wasn't a morning person. I was a 7:30 a.m. kind of guy. And after seeing them, I get up every morning, 5:15, so I can be ready for the 5:30 Rosary. So it's really helped change me. But this morning, actually, there was a comment that came through while we were praying. People come in and they'll put their prayer intentions or comments, and someone said, "I've got to go to bed." They just jumped on and said, "I've got to go to bed, but I know I'll sleep better knowing that you guys are here doing what you're doing." And it was powerful. It just what the Catholic faith is about. And I mentioned to Caesar, I said, that's what the monks of old were. When the rest of the world is sleeping and partying and dancing, it's like on the ship. You have a big ocean liner and everybody's up top having a great time and dancing and everything and are sleeping. But below deck, you got the monks and they're shoveling that coal and they're shoveling that prayer because that is what keeps the church moving. And that is what keeps these brothers moving, is knowing that they're out there shoveling that coal. I'm having a bad day. I'm falling. I can just message or pick up that phone and know that they're shoveling that coal, when I'm getting attacked by the enemy. It's big, man. And I think that's part of this awakening that the faithful are starting to understand. Like, it is not just, the little prayer hand meme. I'll pray for you. No, It's real deal. These guys are going to be praying for you. I know right now they're lifting me up for this interview. I know that. It's huge.
Absolutely. And they're over here. The great armed Catholic Rick Barrett is here, and Rick said something that I knew at this point the Martyrs Walk was something that is to be cheered and promoted. When Rick finally said to me, he said, "My brothers got me going back to the gym on a regular basis now," and that's an incredible feat on its own. Just the fact that you're strengthening the will of a brother, and then he's going. Let me ask you this question: Uh, what I love about this is that you got this weekend. I guess you would call this jolt. That it'll get you going, it'll wake you up, and then you compile it with the brotherhood and the text messages going back and forth, knowing that the other person's doing something that motivates you to be a better father, husband, say your rosary, spend time in meditation and be holy. And I don't know, this is probably something nobody's ever asked you before, but I'm going to ask you here. If every single man in the United States went through the martyr's walk, what would this country look like?
Brother. Catholic monarchy. Let's go. Yeah, I'll get some shade on that.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. No, and that's what I thought to myself too. Yeah, it's if every single man went through the martyr's walk and then built on that community after that, and then you've got this umbrella of brotherhood over you. I think
take over the world, man. Jesus Christ reigns.
It would, yeah. It would be for the sake of Christ, of course. And that's what I love about this. You're doing this for the sake of our Lord. And tell me about your patron saints that you have on here for the Martyrs Walk.
Yeah, so I think we decided to go with the 40 holy martyrs. Just that image, that brotherhood. The conversion of life, from where they were to their deaths, just standing by each other's side and going through that pain and suffering for the greater glory, the inspiration there. And, I think we decided that we would cap our numbers at 40 to make sure, and please God, one day, we'll have those 40 on a regular. Our goal is once a month. A lot of people head on that, and I'm just like, why? The secular world is doing it once a month at least. The Christian organizations, the Protestants are doing it once a month. Why can't the Catholics? I'm tired of these Catholics' excuses, man. I'm done with them. It's time to live Catholic.
That's right. That's right.
So yes.
Now, the question everybody wants to know is, will Enoch's music be blasting during these crazy these crazy? No, I'm just messing with you.
Well, brother, no, you have been talked about because we need a theme song, brother. So you got a ticket punched. I called out Joe Enders. I called out Anthony.
Oh yeah.
Avoided Babylon. Now you. I'm not calling you out. I'm not inviting you, but you got a spot. We got you covered. But if you go through the Martyrs Walk and you don't shake your head and say that was weak, you owe us a theme song, brother. We'll hold you to it.
I'll give you a theme song no matter what, man. You guys are my brothers. I'd love to help out in any way.
Oh, that'd be sweet, brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's my donation to the cause.
Incredible.
Let me ask you this, just you personally. Do you have a favorite martyr in the Roman martyrology?
Man, there's so many. Like that's part of my walk is daily. I read them every day. I love, honestly, I would have to say the obscure names that you don't even know, that no one's ever heard.
I love that.
I would have to say the unknown martyr, like the unknown soldier, because the sacrifice and maybe not even written in that book, the unknown blood martyr who never was acknowledged and no one ever knew about. That would be my favorite martyr. That's a big important part of the Martyrs Walk. Every day we read the Roman martyrology line by line for that day, and we remember those because they are not remembered. Our church doesn't remember them. The faithful, the average Catholic, I don't even say the average Catholic, even the good Catholic for the most part, don't know the martyr. The big ones, people know St. Stephen and some of the big tag names, martyrs out there, St. Cecilia, female one, but the real obscure ones, the names you can't even remember because they're so obscure, the Egyptian names, the Roman names, those are the best for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, wives, send your husbands to this, because I think sometimes there's a bit of moments of mundane, work, family life, dinner. It's just, and I know, me personally speaking, when I go to the men's group once a month in my parish, and there's about 16 to 20 guys there, I come back the next day and I am I'm reawakened. It's like it gives you that extra jolt. What's when wives send their husbands to this, I would expect they come back and the wives will personally shake your hand and thank you, Jason, for I think something about it. I think can get the men to be better husbands and fathers and more diligent in their work and their families. I think through this. Have you seen that?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you're awakening a man to Christ, you're awakening him to everything in his life. And that's the problem, is that we have not been awake to Christ. And so we're not even looking at the light of the world. How are we going to look at our family? How are we going to look at our business? How are we going to look at anything in that light? And I mean, I'm guilty of that. I'm very guilty of that.
Sure.
But that's something I've been working on, because we go through that. We get mundane, the day in, day out, and, oh, I got to do this. And, oh, wait, kids, stay right there. I got work to finish. And I mean, I've got, memories, pulling up in the car. That's the worst thing that I've reflected on. Pulling up in my car into my driveway at the end of a day and having to finish a call, and my kids are standing there and they're banging on the doors, want me to get out. And I'm like, no, I got to finish this. I got to finish this. And that's one important part of, the Martyrs walk that we talk about, those moments, time, tempus fugit, memento mori, time flies, remember death. Every moment is gone. This moment right here, now it's gone. It will never be back. You'll never get it back. And so when you're awakened to Christ, you're awakened to all those things. And just a little story on that awakening for me. I used to come in the house and I get frustrated because I heard my youngest, she'd be squealing and screaming. I'm like, what? Why'd you just, can we get her quiet? And I didn't realize until, because I'm an idiot. And she's looking at me. She's squealing for me. Right. And I'm like, she wants me to look at her. And I wouldn't look at her. I would tap her on the head and I'd go by, but she's like, and that's how God is with us. He's like, look at me. And we don't, man. And so I think that, the wives will thank you. The kids will thank you. The Holy Catholic Church will thank you for becoming awakening and bringing out your best and serving your master, for sure.
No, yeah, absolutely. That's a beautiful, beautiful way of saying it. I'm 100% believer in this, because from what I see, when you have children, you have signed an invincible contract to society, which you have told society is, for the sake of God first and foremost, but for the sake of neighbor as well, I'm going to do the best I can to raise my children to become good citizens, so I don't burden you with my failures. But you can't give what you don't have. You can't give your children virtue if you don't possess it yourself, St. Alphonsus says. So right. I am a big fan of the Martyrs walk, because I think it'll get a guy there, whether you are spiritually, past your purgative stage, or you just starting the spiritual life. This event, this weekend, in my personal opinion, will get you there. So
absolutely.
Yeah. You mind if I play the promo that you guys made? Because I love the promo. The promo is beautiful.
Yeah, let's get that out.
Yeah, I'm going to play the promo for you guys, and then we'll talk about pricing after that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right, let's go. Here it is.
Hey, now, dude, who's there with the page now?
Yeah, that's what a beautiful promo. Did you make that yourself?
No, 9 Choirs Design. John Lee with 9 Choirs Design. He was with us the whole time for the Martyrs Walk. He's done a great job putting out a lot of content for us. So yeah, he had about, I don't remember how many hours, 20, 30 hours of video content. So it was intense. We've got to be careful. We want it to be authentic for every man. So we've got to be careful on what gets out there. But with the promos, you get a good idea, but there's certainly a lot you don't see and you will not see until you get there. So
I like that. I like that. Keep it fresh for every single person. It's like Fight Club. That's
Yeah.
the first rule, right? We don't talk about Fight Club. And
You
men
got it.
need that. Men. And there's a certain thing that I was
They
thinking
do.
about. In the Western culture, to become a man, you get your driver's license, and it's just such a pathetic initiation process. This is why I think this, the 18-year-olds in this, the 16, 18-year-olds, whatever, because I think you're talking about possibly doing one, for fathers and
youth.
sons, for the youth.
That's right.
There needs
That's
to
right.
be initiation process that'll take you from boy to manhood. And I think, in my personal opinion, the Martyrs Walk is the perfect crossover for that. 100%. August 24th,
Yeah,
right?
no, I think you're right. August 24th to the 26th. That's right. Charlotte, North Carolina. That'll be the airport. We're actually just a little bit south of Charlotte, but you'd fly into Charlotte, North Carolina. That's right. If
Got
you're
it.
coming in
Okay.
from out of state. Yeah.
Got it. And then what's the cost for the Martyrs Walk?
So the cost is $1,750. And I know a lot of guys are going to say, well, that's really expensive because they're used to their $50 men's conference and they're used to their, couple $100 small weekend retreats. But this is an investment. This is an investment. We did research. We want this to be as affordable as possible. Our bottom line is men, as many men as possible. It is not a number. We are not doing this for the money. I made a lot more money in real estate and construction, but my end goal is to assist men in their journey and to build the Catholic Church in our faith. So that is the cost. But if you go and you compare to comparable boot camps out there that are put on, for example, the one I did in Dallas was $5,500, and that did not include lodging and some of the food. So
Right.
This is all encompassing here. It covers your lodging, it covers your food, covers all the activities, the lessons. We have instructors that are going to be coming in, especially in all of their areas. We've got mental health specialists. We have weapons specialists, like Rick himself, some combat specialists. So we're pouring in a lot into this. We do have a program called the No Martyr Left Behind because we want every man there. We're hoping to build a fund for scholarships and for donations so that guys can come in and have different sponsors for that. We will get you there somehow, some way. We are not a charity. If the diocese wants to take it over and let us run it and be a charity, hey, I'd be game for that. But unfortunately, it's privately funded, but it is not there to make a lot of money. It is there to build the men and make men. So that's what we offer on there.
I love that, and I can tell because 1750 is not that bad for what you're doing. I know Jocko does his boot camp thing, and that's like thousands and thousands.
Yeah,
So,
there's a Crucible down in Florida. I think it's like $10,000 or $12,000. It's intense. It's not rustic camping. I know that there's a couple of Catholic ones out there that kind of do the rustic camping, and they do big, large numbers. I mean, so if you bring 100 guys or 200 guys, then sure, if you're in a tent or in a rustic bunkhouse, but we are in a dormitory style bunkhouse, but it does have running water and heating and air and toilets and showers and things like that. So we wanted to keep it in that environment so that it does build that fellowship, that camaraderie, and keep the guys intimate so that they can share their experience. But much of the walk is in silence, and that's intentional. There are times for brotherhood and fellowship each day to kind of go over where everybody is and what they're going through. But silence is a big part of that, and the Ignatian style really pushes that. If you've ever been out on an Ignatian retreat, and there's something there to be in that silence. Most men, I know my very first one I made in my early 20s, that was unique. I mean, I still remember how intense that was. But it's very important, because you can't hear God in the noise, especially, today's common man in society. There's so much noise. So we turn that off.
No, that's a beautiful thing. I was going to ask about that. It just has a little Carthusian like to it as well. Because men can sit side by side on a stool and face, and we can sit in a car together and just face the wind and not talk for 10 minutes. And there's no awkwardness to it. It's just how we are, which is great. I love it.
So that's appealing back. That's bringing them back to kind of what we do, and we automatically do. We do that, and so it's and we
really does shine. Yeah, you shine the nature of man perfectly. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, when we were there, I mean, there was right now we're using a YMCA summer camp facility for our lodging and for the food, but each day we transport out to different locations. But when we were there, I mean, we had a lot of comments. A lot of the kids were like, are they CIA? Are they military? Are they special force? Because we're all in black and we're all in silent. We stood, we sat down to eat together. We wrote, we said prayer before we sat down to eat. We stood and we said prayer after we ate. We all, left together. No one ate before anyone else. It was, very militant, very monastic. And it makes an impact on a man, to feel that.
Got it. Okay. Let me ask you a couple more questions, and then we'll call this. What is your favorite part about the whole process of putting all this together?
Well, being with the men, it was, just as impactful for me to be with the men in May. That brotherhood, that fraternity, that grit, that knowing that there's guys right next to you that would die for their faith. And I firmly believe that after, especially after the Martyrs Walk, because you will know if there's no guarantee, but you should have a good idea of where you stand. If you were put in a situation like that, if the noise comes, what's going to happen. And, that's just invigorating, and now, we're back, we're preparing for our August event. We're getting ready to release the September date. So right now I think we're all kind of feeling like we're out in the desert. We're kind of pulled apart, but we're like caged animals. We're ready to get back to it. Get back in it. So I think just as much as for the men, it is for me. I mean, that's the same reason I gave when I helped be a part of the men's conference, because I needed it. And man, I need other men. I need that grit. I need that fellowship, that brotherhood, knowing that one has the other's back at any moment. It's just so powerful. It's such a beautiful thing of our faith and the way God has created us innately.
That's beautiful, brother. Yeah, I'm reminded of St. Thomas Aquinas when he said, sometimes when you're struggling with a certain vice and it's gotten to a point where your flesh is so weak, you have to do something completely extreme to the opposite in order for you to bring the virtue back in the middle. And I've seen, men, addiction to pornography, we're talking about gluttony, slothfulness, or just living in the system and just being drained of just purpose.
That's right.
Sometimes when you take it to the extreme like this, man, it could bring you back, and it could bring you back quick. So I recommend the Martyrs Walk.
Thank you, brother.
To anybody. Last question I ask every single person. I got to ask you. Feel free to answer if you like. It's 2025. The Holy Father, Pope Francis, has passed. We have white smoke. Habemus Papam. Jason Murphy, you have been picked to be the leader, the shepherd of the church. 2 questions. Number 1, what is your pontiff name? And what is the one thing that you're going to do to kind of bring the church, head the church towards a great glory for the world?
Oh, wow. Okay. I get, I'm going to have to go with an apostle martyr, my patron, St. Jude.
Nice.
Gonna have to be Jude because that was an integral part of my walk.
Yeah.
My reversion back to the faith from a life of death, I made my reversion back, after not going to mass for many years and having no faith at all. And when I went back, it was through the traditional Latin mass, and there was an old nun there, Sister Perpetua, and I did a little discernment, trying to figure out that name. And I went to the mailbox one day. We had talked about Jude, and my grandmother, who was very faithful Catholic, she sent me a holy card of Saint Jude, and Saint Jude had, he's, lost causes, saint of lost causes. So if there was ever a lost cause, that was Jason Murphy. So I would have to be Jude the first, I do believe.
I love it.
And then the second part of it, what's the second part of the question there?
What would be the, I guess, what would move the pontificate? Like, what would you known for as far as, like, what would you put into the church to help it move forward and kind of get the world to kind of come into the church as well?
Whew. Oh, man. I don't know. I know my motto: die to sin, die to self, live for God.
Yeah, right. Because you had, Paul VI, you had Humana Vitae, so it was big on the family and consciousness. Pope Francis is big on the social justice understanding of it, or just like the poor and those folks. Would you then say your main focus would be family, men, for men to lead their families and families lead society? Would that be your pontificates? Because from the Martyrs walk as well together.
Yeah, it would have to be the man. The pontificate for men. Sorry, ladies, but if you don't have men, you don't have family. So
no, that's the way it is. Yeah,
the women will. Yeah. So we would go after the men for sure.
And that's great.
Yeah.
And I heard a quote, and it's actually very true. When the woman is rightly ordered, no woman can resist a man who's conquered his own will, because it is through that leadership that she would not mind submitting herself under that leadership, because she knows that he has her best interests at heart, no matter what he does. For the sake of and I have no doubt that's what the Martyrs Walk would do for these men and for the families. Absolutely.
Yeah, brother, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we end this?
No, I mean, we're just, really excited. Spots are filling in. So get in there. There's never a great time to commit. I know with men, we wait to the last minute. There's always a better reason. We're always looking for some other reason to excuse ourselves. But there's no better time than now. And if not now, then when? And if not you, then who? So go online and get registered, and we'd love to have you.
Yeah,
guarantee you will have you will leave a better man in your
100%. The descriptions
your wife and your kids will thank you for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Click on that link, share it with everybody. Every single person in here that's going to be listening to this in the future, either if it's not you, when you hear the Martyrs Walk and what it's all about, some guy pops in your head. And if that guy pops in your head, send that link on to that guy and tell them, check this out, go there. I'll meet you there, and let's do this together. Yeah.
That's right. And we have group pricing as well. 3 or more. Yep.
What is that price for 3 or more?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry. 3 or more, $1,500, so it takes off a good chunk, not down $250. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's per person, right?
That's right. Yeah. And if you've got it, we had someone ask, what if, you have a son and maybe they're not 18, if they're, 17, if they're 16, we would probably allow that as long as, it would be, at your discretion. It won't be any easier, so you probably won't be right next to him, but, for certainly to go through the experience with your son, definitely we'll allow, that under that 18, as long as the father's there. And then we hope to offer the under 18, for troubled youth and young guys, lost out there. And then we'll get into some specialty kind of events. Love to have like a combat event, maybe have a weaponry event. Rick, lead us on that. Certainly has the specialty there, and just so many variations. But right now we want to focus on our base, the men 18 to 60 years old.
Yep, absolutely. I love it. Thanks again for coming on, Jason. I appreciate you and what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. God bless you guys. I'm going to take you guys out, and then stay
Thanks,
behind
man.
in the green room if you don't mind. I want to talk to you a little quickly if you don't mind. God bless you guys. I'll see you guys on the next episode of Get to Know.